Testing, testing.
Okay, that's actually probably totally
Is
right.
there sound?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah. Okay, give it a couple seconds. But I think that's cool. I think we're cool.
Did we...
We can't hear you. Can you hear us now? Wait, what? Is there sound now? Yay!
Woo!
Okay.
We got it. All right, sorry about that. We were pushing a lot of things that said mute, and we pushed 2 of them, and that didn't seem right.
It needs to be an odd number of mutes. If it's an even number, then they cancel out, and you can't hear anything. So.
No, not in the middle of the night. Yeah. This is this would be our Q4 Europe stream. So hi everybody. It's been a super long time. Oh my gosh. What trickery is this? A stream, indeed. Whew, I gotta.
Okay, we had to introduce again
get
now,
with it
because no one knows who we are.
Shoot,
some of them do.
Do they not?
Well, we introduced ourselves, and we were just going like.
That's true. We were just like pantomiming, and I think that our gestures were pretty clear. But just in case, hi everybody. I'm Allie. I'm a concept artist on Team Stonehearth.
I'm Chris. I'm an engineer on Team Stonehearth.
And today we're going to talk to you guys about things that are happening in the game. So this is our 4th quarter. Are we in the 4th quarter? Gosh, what is the year even
November,
doing?
Right? I think.
I blinked.
It feels
Don't blink.
November. It's November-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk to you guys about Stonehearth. If you've got like questions burning in your mind about how the game's been going since the last time we've had a chance to all sit down and jam together, but we're also going to do some fun stuff with building.
Yeah, I've been streaming like on my own now. I've done about 3 or 4 streams probably.
Practically a veteran.
So yeah. I can talk at a camera. I'm good at this. No, and I've been talking about building a lot, but that's always been at like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Pacific time.
Sorry, that's my friend.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Take your time, by all means. But I don't think we've done this in. I don't know how many people will know what's going on. Certainly on sort of on the Europe side, if you haven't been watching my streams, you might not even realize that we're in the middle of like doing a total rebuild of building and fixing all the things that are broken, hopefully. So I thought we could probably do a little bit of that. I actually want to see Allie kind of like use this thing and build some stuff, and then like kind of like take feedback.
Break everything.
Yeah, well, and just to get it's funny because like I mean
okay,
I'm
not break everything.
I know, but break as much as you can. But I wanna see like because everyone does stuff differently, and like I'm not an expert at building awesome 3D little Stonehearth houses and stuff, and like so the way I approach things is going to be a little bit different than the way Allie does it, the way Mally does it, the way everyone does it. So I think it might be just fun for me to be like, oh, that's how you use that tool. Oh, okay. So without any further ado, we can probably just go in. I can show you sort of I'll do like the sort of the intro of the prototype stuff, and then maybe you can take the reins after that.
Go for it.
So hold on, let's see. This is the directory.
Oh, I was looking over there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it'll
Same thing?
come over here. Yeah, and this should Okay, sweet. Oh wait, I don't want to do that. I want to keep
look at that purple floor.
Yeah. So some stuff. So this is like it's like prototypey, but also we're getting closer and closer to like actual like real good code. So there are materials on some things, and other things are just like randomly colored. If nothing else, just to like indicate to me that hey, you haven't actually fixed this problem yet.
We gotta mute the game.
Oh.
How do we mute the game? Where's settings?
Escape? Yeah, go to that and then
sound.
Yeah. Music is off. Effects all the way to 0. I think is probably.
Click and drag. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Let us know if that is better.
Yeah.
So you've done a couple of streams about building stuff for the normal streams.
Yeah.
But just in case for like folks who don't know anything about all this crazy stuff that's been going on, like what are some major points that you've been attacking with the system? Things that you've kind of gone off from based on feedback from how it used to work. I could talk a lot about how it used to work.
I mean, like that's the thing. Like, everything is different. Like it's really been a top to bottom rework, and it's been a rework on sort of like the core side of things. So like the stuff that's in the game and like the actual like the stuff that the Hearthlings will build and interact with, and then it's a rework of how users are going to be interacting with all of the elements and like making stuff and actually putting things in the game. So that's the old UI. If you go over here,
okay.
Yeah. So let's go around.
Click on the buttons.
Yeah.
So that's the old thing.
Yeah. So right now, so this is obviously not final UI. This is like deliberately bad again.
So
like
many things.
Yeah, exactly. This is like it's terrible right now.
Right. So deliberately bad, meaning all this stuff is here just so we can like get at it really immediately for the purposes of testing how it works.
Precisely. I'm not. There's no. This particular part of it, sort of the actual UI widgets, the stuff that's going to be in the 2D screen, is like we're going to go and we'll figure that out and actually come up with solutions in probably another month or two or something like that. Once the majority of sort of the in-game tools are done.
Yeah, while we're beating on it, it's just a mess.
Exactly.
So don't look at this and
not
freak
final.
out.
Not fine. No, that's the perfect UI. No, it is not the perfect UI.
No, Spofio.
Not even slightly.
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll just sort of dig into it a little bit. In fact, before I even show off the tools, you're going to see like, oh, okay, I've got like a wall and I got like what looks like a room and another thing. And we're kind of like building these sort of higher level concepts. In Stonehearth, you'd build sort of a floor and then you'd pop these walls on top of it.
Does this still happen?
No, it's not. You can't even get
it.
it.
Oh my gosh, so we can't even do like a comparison.
Yeah. Well, okay, if you've played Stonehearth, you know, and you know how, what it's like. So this guy is like, oh, I'm a room, and you can kind of just drag me around because I've got these little widgets on it, and then I can go and drag like, a side of the wall, and I can drag this, and I can move these around. And this guy, like the widgets who are on top of it, come with it as well, and I can reorder where the...
That's really exciting.
Yeah, like one of the things that actually I ran into when I was doing this was like, oh, I want to place 3 windows, and like, oh, I'm off by a voxel. Like I need a thing, I need to like, and then you just... and then like, I just drag the wall by 1 pixel.
Yeah, for me this is like, because the way that I've approached building houses for templates in the past is literally by like counting the blocks in the floor plan and then subtracting 2 on the corners, and then certain things do not like go up against columns like doors, so there's like a bare minimum of like 7 for an area.
I'm so sorry.
There's a lot of math, and it's not like it's not completely unintuitive, but it's got a lot of rules, at least from the way that I would approach the system. Whether or not that's anybody else's style, I mean, that's everybody's individual business. But this is super cool to me because it's like, oh, damn, there's not enough room for this door. And then you could just like, oh, now there is.
Yeah, and now it's centered, and now I can do all
I no longer have to like undo all the walls down and then like redo the floor again. Though I got so used to doing that I didn't really think anything about it. Until... And
that's exactly the thing, though. It's like you get used to how bad the UI is, and you're like, okay, this is fine. And like, no, it's not fine. We have to be able to do better than that. So the idea is like, let's stop punishing users. Let's stop like, if I wanted to go and like, well, I'll just show you.
Yeah.
This tool works almost exactly the same. Like I'm just going to add a window over here, and like it's there, and I can just drag it individually up and down like that. Let's see. Oh, are there separate widgets for doors and windows? No, they're all separate things. Why move a window if we can move a wall? Right. Yeah, exactly. So like, in fact, I didn't want, two voxels between this, so I'm just going to move this in, and then I just move this guy in, and now it lines up, and you don't have to undo your entire...
You don't have to like jump out of like, because this is cool because you have a full visual representation of everything that's happening. You don't have to delete it all and then build it all back up. You can just kind of edit it in real time and push it around almost like, I don't know, I think of it like it's more like clay now, unless like, okay, I have to save that in my head and then go back and then go back forward again.
It's interesting that you say that. Like underlying all of this is just voxels. They're all just like little pieces in the world, and they're all the same thing. And so it's in that sense, it's identical to the old system. Like those are just voxels as well. But we're teaching these voxels kind of how to flow now, and we can reposition and
flow is a good word.
It's like water. And so now that you can do that, you can do a lot of like interesting things. Like, well, I have this room over here, and I got a room over here, and I kind of want to like have a door or a wall between them. So let's bring this out a little bit. I can just kind of go like this, and I can start to like intersect these 2 structures like this, and say, okay, maybe that looks kind of nice over there.
So this is like, I guess like I'm gonna not use the right word here, but like concept-wise, like the way this sort of changes the approach of building a house in Stonehearth is more thinking in terms of like rooms and interior structures as they make up the whole, instead of plotting out an entire floor plan and chunking it all out.
Yeah. Like you with the old system, you have to do tons and tons and tons of like pre-thinking. You have to know what you're doing, and you make that off by 1 voxel error, you're screwed. You have to go undo the whole thing. You have to like do
everything else. Yeah.
And this is like that's terrible. Like it's not fun, and it punishes you for not planning.
It is if you like tedium, which I do. So like all of the old templates, guys, I have like a book of graph paper that's just like got little sections all shaded in from like plotting out the floor plan, because that was just like sanity for me. But this is cool because it's like, if you still like doing that, you can still count squares and do all of those things. It's a little more inside out than outside in, so that's something that I'm personally interested in getting to know a little better. Because again, I tend to think of things from like the external shape of like the whole silhouette of how cute the house is on the outside, and then I work inward. It's a little distressing though, because our furniture takes up kind of inconsistent amounts of floor space, which is another thing that I'm really looking forward to attacking. I'm sick of having things like floating in the middle of an odd number of voxels, and then you can't line it up to anything, blah, blah, blah. But I might have lost my train of thought just now because I was talking about too many things and I'm excited.
No. It is an inversion really of the way that we normally think.
Right. Yeah. But on the flip side, if you don't approach, if you don't like the whole tedious, that's what I was going to do. The tedious aspect of like counting out all the bricks, you have this thing that you can push and pull on like in the space and just completely visually like just play with it and get to results that you're happy with, which is super, super appealing.
Yeah. So like, so on that, like, I think that this makes sense to me as, a structure. This is where I wanted things. And I'm going to go and put like a wee little door like right over here.
That is not a wee little door.
It's not. Okay,
that is a massive door.
Is this that is a double door.
That is a double door.
Okay, darn it. Yeah, that's the single.
What do you even need that inside your house for? What are you using that space for?
It's a really important room, and I need a really important door with it, damn it. And so I want to make a little bit more room, so I'm just going to drag that out over here, and then like
that's interesting too. Like,
so like, this is
it broke the wall, and now you.
So I mean, but this is not set in stone. Like, how are these things going to like kind of like morph into one another and kind of work? It remains to be seen. So I actually want to just show one or two things about it. So I made some changes. I kind of intersected these things and like put some rooms together, and now I'm just going to sort of pull this guy out because like
let's see a minute. Mello, let's stop a minute and catch up on the questions really quick, because we're just going to spaz about all this stuff for like a solid hour. Melopez is saying the fences may need a little work too in terms of regular spacing. Yes,
fencing tool is coming.
I keep trying to use them to make railings, and they just don't like it because they're super weird. But that's exactly an example of that kind of like irregular. How much space does it take up? It's hard to use them in structures, which isn't really how they're designed. But at the same time, in Stonehearth, it's nice to be able to take a piece and go, here's what it does, and here's what I can do with it. Like that's where your creativity gets to take over, and you get to really start to have fun with everything.
Someone says no door margins. So I have deliberately I'm pulling back a lot of things because we had a lot of little rules about like, yeah, doors had to have these margins and the windows sort of had to have these margins, and then you couldn't put these things next to that thing.
Like and the windows had like a weird vertical one. The doors have a weird horizontal one.
And
it's
like,
a lot to think about.
It's a lot to think about, and some of it was like us trying to sort of protect ourselves from ourselves because you could get into unbuildable situations.
But the other thing is some of these constraints do provide like some, I guess, like aesthetic. Some handholds for just aesthetic. Like you're not gonna, it's gonna help. I don't want to say protect you from making choices that make awkward-looking houses, because at the same time, like, who are we to say this is an awkward-looking house? We shouldn't completely be able to dictate how people want to build their houses. So it makes more sense, in anyway, from my perspective, to open that up.
Yeah, so, well, there's that, and then there's, like, the other thing that I haven't even shown yet, which is, like, well, you know, these are just, like, walls and stuff, and, well, people have been asking for vertical walls for a very, very long time. So now we're going to actually, like, also, we do have multi-select, so I can just go and, like, double-click on this, and I can select all of the walls and kind of bring them up. But once you do this, I know, it's and guess what? We've exposed a terrible-looking, like, part of the thing, because we never assumed, you know, the walls were always going to be 6 units high.
Yeah.
And now they are not necessarily that anymore. So
we're just going to have like a thing that...
We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. But the point being now, though, like maybe I want a door that's up here because I'm going to have like stairs leading up to this door. And then I'm going to have a little...
Alternatively beautiful.
Yeah, alternatively beautiful. Indeed. Okay,
yes.
Well, we'll use that nomenclature from now on.
Yes. This is the door in the middle of the house design.
Well, so hold on, though, because maybe I want like this is going to be like I'm gonna have an upper floor over here or something like that, and I want to have like a little exterior landing thing.
I mean,
and
if the templates are in here, if you
can actually do that,
If the templates are okay, so the second the forge is in here. So there's actually an example of something like that in here where you have to kind of trick the system in the old version to do that sort of thing where you have like those steps go up all the way up. You have to like build like an entire landing and everything, but the doors already up here. This is like 2 distinct floors of things instead of tugging a wall up, putting that up there, and then like playing with it from there.
And so that's also like a totally valid thing that you can do though. So like obviously we want to have much better support for second floor structures. So like if I want to go and create a new room, I can just like I can create a room here on the ground, but I can also go on top and I can just drag like this, and now you have your room on the top here. And then the nice thing now where we've included is this ability to basically just mask out, the varying floors of it. So like I can still get in here, I can still like, I'm going to create like a freestanding wall between these 2 things because I want that. And then I can go, up a level. And again, not the actual UI, we're going to get there. And then you can now go inside, work with this.
I don't think I've played with this since the up a level, down a level thing was added. That's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, like we're slowly putting things together, and then non-building stuff. How is the enemy development going? Also, what kind of new enemies you're thinking of adding to the game? This is
So,
Allie?
Oh my goodness,
where to begin?
Okay, so good heavens, where to even begin on that? So what kind of enemy development? We have a lot of concept art for a lot of cool creatures and monsters to furnish the world of Stonehearth with and make it like this super cool like fantasy landscape where all of these interesting things live and you can fight them. I honestly hope for a situation someday where you have other kinds of interactions with all these things, but at the moment, as far as like adding content along those lines goes, we're taking a little bit of a step back from that and defining some higher level goals for art for the entire game. And that also goes into like expressing aspects of lore and story through those things. So there's a couple of goals with what art is doing at the moment. I feel like a million years ago at this point. So we used to do on Wednesday morning art streams, and we made like a lot of things with like monsters and assets to put into the game. There was a lot of focus on developing content for the game as it stands right now, pushing on it and trying to make it more beautiful for sure, but not really with as much of an eye of like, okay, let's take a step back, let's look at like tonally, emotionally, mechanically what our game is trying to be and try to figure out like what the best type of art is for that. We're developing for it in real time in the state that it is in currently. So we've taken a bit of a switch backwards, which means unfortunately trying not to design a lot of cool monsters and cool things that live
Fight the instinct. Fight the passion.
This is like my favorite thing in the world, by the way, is designing the cool monsters. That's the best. But taking a step back and thinking about like the high level goals of the game and how that influences art, because art's not there just for aesthetics. That's part of it, but the other thing that it's supposed to do is communicate to you guys important things like information about the world mechanically, so you know like, hey, I can harvest that, or hey, I can build with that, things like that, or hey, that's raw materials versus something that's already been combined into something, little cues like that. And on the other hand, when we make decisions about the nature of the world, how that translates tonally into things like color language, shape language, what's safe, where haven't we been yet? So when you think about that in terms of monsters, if we start designing a lot of monsters right now, just go nuts and do whatever we can, we're actually it's short-sighted. Nailing down those big pillars and then working in from there is kind of what we're tasked with right now with art. And more of the content creation side of what we're doing is to support like gameplay features that are being rolled out for testing currently, things like workshop updates and stuff like that, which is still a little stressful in some ways because we're back in that kind of sticky spot of like we have to like invent and design things in the space we're currently in without solving those bigger problems. But as much as possible, we're trying to like figure out the big picture thing. That way we can design assets that delight and inform you guys as much as possible about like not just like how the world works, but what it's like to be in that world.
Yeah, we're in a kind of strange place where like we have all these good ideas and then some okay ideas, and we need to work kind of backwards and fix some of the okay ideas so that we can get to the place where we can start to build other like, things. And it's like this, we got far, I mean, building is actually a great example of this. We're like, oh, we finished building and we got this stuff out, 2-3 years ago, and like, actually it's got a lot of problems with it, and it's got a lot of like unfortunate things. And okay, so now I'm fixing this particular part and working with Justin and Nikki, and we're all attacking this, and from an art standpoint, it's like, hey, let's add something based on these things that are already in the game that we're
already kind of a placeholder thing in the first place. So is it responsible to keep adding to that? Should we back up? So it's a lot of like.
Okay, there's a bunch of comments.
I see a lot of Stonehearth.
Okay, so first of all, we can all agree. I want rideable Varenesses, of course. I want that in real life.
So many Varenesses. Wait, no, you don't.
Okay. Hey, don't tell me what I can have. Some people have tigers.
Like, okay,
pets.
but
I
want you to think about this for a minute. If you think about like the 1-to-1 scale, like Stonehearth to Vareness, in our world, a Vareness would be at least as big as a Volkswagen, probably as big as a RAV4, like an SUV.
That's pretty. I mean,
and
again,
it's an alligator snapping turtle.
This is not making me want it less. Okay.
It's so dangerous.
So someone asks a question. Emmy Lopez M. Can a single column be raised higher than others? I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. And then we have some comments on, adding more stuff before underlying systems are fixed can lead to disaster.
Exactly.
When do you think the game will be fully released? Will there be any updates? When? I have absolutely no idea.
We cannot responsibly give you... this is when we will do it by.
We have lots of work ahead of us. We're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep streaming. We're going to keep delivering new updates and stuff. So
in as much as sanely possible, exposing what it is that we are working on at the time in terms of like delivering on the expectations and promises of the game that we're building in the first place, as well as all of the aspirational studies that we're working into it and around it and all that crazy stuff. So our best solution for the time at the moment is to just stay as transparent as we possibly can and keep you guys involved in as much of the communication as we can, which is why we do streams and Desktop Tuesdays and we're on the Discourse and all that stuff. I didn't say Discord this time. Anyway.
And then someone else asks, seeing rooms being made, wonder if we'll be able to do pillars within the new building tool, like without having to use Slab tool to pull the block by block. Okay, so single columns, pillars, stuff like that. So it's interesting, actually. I did a little hack over here. When it comes to the room tool, I was like, I'm going to, like, if you look at this, well, we have these 4 walls. But the idea behind the room is that it's only walls. The columns are basically kind of like decorative color at this point. They're not like columns kind of in the original Stonehearth. And I thought it was going to be really, really clever. I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have, because I don't want these widgets to overlap, because that creates a really weird situation where like I'm on a column and like, wait, which wall am I actually selecting? There might be some ways around this, but this was my first sort of attempt here, which kind of backfired as you'll see. Where I was like, I know, I'll have a wall that'll extend and include one column, and then the other wall will extend and include that column, and then so forth. So there's no overlapping. Everything's great, and then you pull one wall up. And well done, Chris. Great idea. So actually, I had something already. I wanted to show this, which is an interesting little problem. It's not obvious until you kind of like actually run face first into it. In fact, let me move this. Let me move this guy just over to here, so it's really, really obvious what's going on. I'm going to drag this room so it's now coincident with this wall. We don't have double-sided voxels. Our voxels are entirely just one unit. So, like, when I overlap like this, like, who's winning? What happens to this guy's wall? And who, like, how does that? What's going on there?
So, like the stuff inside the wall, the apparent texture of the wall.
Exactly.
Like that.
And like, because I don't want to like create a hole. I want to be able to drag this guy back still, and like, okay, now I've got this. And really, what should happen is the little pieces should go away there. I'm just going to fake this for now. But yeah, so what are we doing here? And I think the answer right now, and this seems to be kind of working intuitively, is when you overlap like this, it's kind of like a last person wins, a last room wins. So like you drag this on top, and so it overlapped like this, and you keep all the widgets so you can still have your door there. But I can do another thing where I can just drag this guy on top of this, and then this one wins. And so what's actually happening is there's this kind of little mask there that's basically cutting out. Layers. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Kilkenny says layers. That's basically the idea.
If you know Photoshop, then you have already an intuition of what's going on here.
I don't think that knowing Photoshop should be a ground floor. Like, hey, you have to know.
It should be. Not that you should know. If you do, then you know what I'm talking about.
The concept of layers, though, for sure.
So like, and this is just sort of like hacked right now. I can kind of flip back and forth by just clicking on the dragging. And that's just an accident of how this sort of was built, but a very convenient one for me. But the idea being that I should be able to go and say, I want this room logically on top of this room, but then this thing over there and whatnot, and then everything just sort of works, but it preserves what was there. So I still have like the original thing, but I can choose sort of who's going to be winning that interaction. And just to be also clear, just in case anyone was worried, of course you can still go and you can change wall colors like this, so you can have what individual walls look like. We've got the thing where you can change all of the walls simultaneously if you want to. So like you can.
So you just double click on everything.
Exactly. exactly, yeah. So you've still got the ability to adjust the individual wall colors and whatnot, in addition to kind of figuring how this overlapping kind of stuff works.
Mizuki, you cannot put the rooms at color dodge. You'll break the world.
No. How well does the new building system support destruction and rebuilding? Without having tested it at once, the idea is that the new system should be absolutely able to support, at least in some sense, in some fashion, hard things going and altering the current design and being able to like tear down walls. Not necessarily manually. I suspect that some of our renovation stuff is going to be like the walls are going to go poof, and then the hard things will come in and do the new walls. And I think that's going to... We're riding a line between sort of the realism and also just avoiding the tedium of having to put scaffolding back up to reach the thing and another ladder and blah, 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 blah. So that's currently the intent. That's currently what we're trying to sort of do. Yeah, so arrange rooms like layers in Photoshop, highest wins, exactly.
That's the basic concept.
Yeah. Let's see.
I guess what was surprising to me, though, and I think I might have seen this at an earlier stage, where if the room with priority was the one with the door, it would keep the door, but if the room with priority was the one without the door, it would get rid of the door?
Yeah, and Mally gave me feedback on that, and he was like, this doesn't feel right.
Like, I would 100% lose furniture.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't, and this is actually kind of how The Sims does it, where if you have a room with a door in it, and you overlap them, the door is always there.
Now that the concept of the portal exists.
So everyone still gets access, and that's probably what you want. And if you don't, you can just easily delete these things.
And that's the thing. It's like, my big thing is like, I would pull a wall back out and, hey, where'd this window come from?
Yeah, exactly.
How long has it been there? Who did this?
So clone stamp the rooms to make multiple identical layouts. I don't have it implemented, but totally, absolutely. Quarterly reminder for Mac OS and Linux versions. Quarterly response for. I'm so sorry. Yes, it's gonna happen. Just not yet. Angelo keeps saying like, "Hey, let me do this," and we're like, "We do have other things that we need to do that currently are taking priority." Yeah. So yes, I'm so sorry. I'm red in the face.
Angelo.
Yeah. So let's see what else. Anything over here? So we showed multiple height walls. We have the little tool for going up and down stuff. And then I think one other cool thing is like adding to room, where you you can just drag out a new room like this, sure, but you can also go like this, and then it opens up sort of like that little opening. I don't know if this is the way we want to do it. I suspect some people might want a tool that like you can split a wall and then pull that out.
I do, because like I'm constantly so again, one of the things that I love to do with let me see if I do this right. I don't have to hold anything down, do I?
No.
Like, one of the things I love to do is
did you just do a new room, or did you?
I might have done a new room.
Yeah.
How to add
to room? Yeah.
Add to room?
Yeah.
Add to room?
Ooh.
Do I have to go?
Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. Hold on. Okay, this is cute. All right. Something is wrong. Why is it?
I swear I didn't do it.
Well, I mean, technically I did. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, weird. Does it have to overlap a column?
I think it has to be me using it. I think that's how that works. No. You should totally be able to just. If I start inside.
Maybe it was too small.
Could have been, like, you get to the overlap like this, and then... Oh, look at that! I saw one or two... Yeah, that's definitely not supposed to happen. I wonder why... There might be like literally an off by one error where like, oh no, that should be like, just strictly the overlap and not like actually intersect. That actually might be exactly what that is. It's looking for an intersection and not just an overlap.
Maybe so. I'll just use this one. But anyway, the reason that's handy to me is one of the reasons I was a little bit like, wait, what do you mean we can't like edit this floor plan style? Because one of the ways that I like to add interest to the face of really large houses, so that they're not just like a big bland rectangle with like a door in it, is by like, oh hey, these outside pieces, oh wait, wow, look at all these things. Yeah. Oh, they're in strange places.
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine.
Programmer UI.
But like, okay, so the main body of the house is like, oh wow, that was fun. It made this one.
Did you accidentally?
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
You can do an undo. Let's see what happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Just click and then click again.
All right.
Ghosts.
So,
okay. There's only one way that
back.
could possibly... Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that means there's a stale selection in that... I've seen some weird little ghosting problems with... not this, but...
Oh, there it goes again.
How is that possible? Allie, what have you done?
I don't know. I touched
This
things
is cool.
and I
Okay,
break
this is
them.
great. I'm glad this is on stream because I
exactly
can
the
review
thing.
this. No, this is great. I can review and be like, oh, okay, that's the circumstance that got to like the stale selection.
Yeah,
Okay.
but anyway, I like to be able to not just add a new room, but also modify the floor plan and add these little pieces out into the front of it because it's a really nice way to make really cute large structures. If they're all just a big box, or if I have to like kind of from the inside out think about this in terms of like I have to overlap all these rooms and delete all of these walls in order to get this like front piece that sticks out, and I have like this nice little patio porch area or this like studio on the side or like a bay window section over by the kitchen. That kind of is the best of both worlds for me because then it's like, okay, now I can make sure that I have like nicely sized rooms on the inside, but if I want to manipulate just the shape of it, I can use the add room tool to do that, or I guess the add to room to do that.
Yeah,
I would just manipulate the shape of one room versus adding other rooms to the entire complex, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, interesting. Kind of looks like she's pressing the edge of the button with the cursor. Oh, interesting. Hold on.
Oh,
let's try that. Yeah. That's actually quite plausible. And then if I go like this, let's put it right off. Hold on, and do an undo. So, okay, and then I'm going to click this again, but not on top of anything. Yeah, that's what it is. It's clicking through.
Problem solved.
Why is it clicking through? If it's... Oh, no, because I'm just hooking the Lua event. No, that still seems weird. It should be going just to the UI. Okay, that's cool. Well, okay, we solved it. At least we just know why it's happening. And it shouldn't be doing it on a hover. It should only be on a selected item. Okay.
So that's interesting. So if... Oh, yeah, because it's selecting it right
it's
through
right on
everything,
top.
and it's the other thing is already selected.
Why you continue to not honor the UI? Like, there are pixels there. You're not supposed to go through the pixels.
It doesn't.
It
doesn't understand.
We'll
it doesn't
have a
understand yet.
Yeah.
Coaster's Paul is saying... Oh, wait. Did we miss anything else? No, that's just Moobot.
Working on floors? I'm assuming just like a floor tool? Yeah, that's coming. I mean, that's actually really, really straightforward in comparison
Bruno
to all
Supremo,
these things.
no, I didn't.
Oh, what did Bruno Supremo ask? Allie broke
Said
it.
Allie
He
broke
did not.
it,
No.
I didn't do it.
If anything, it's somehow my fault, so don't worry.
See? You have it here live.
Are you thinking of being able to control a Hearthing in first-person view? Please do so. Okay, controlling is a strange thing, because, like you can't, well, I mean, it wouldn't be even controlling. It'd be just like, yeah, you'd like do the avatar thing and you do whatever you want and you kind of explore the world. But I do love the idea of being able to don a Vive and then like click on the Hearthling and then just like
kind of
actually tag along.
Ghost around.
Watch
at
them.
the Hearthling scale.
Yeah.
I think for like especially developed cities, that could be pretty fun.
Yeah, I'd love to see like an actual walkthrough of like some of mega shubs or creations or stuff like that. I think it'd be it'd be cool. It's not on our radar anytime soon, but it's one of those things that's like, how hard would that be?
Pick of Death is asking, when are we going to be able to place dirt or stone back into the ground so we don't have holes?
When are we going to be able to do that?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. So I guess that actually it does sort of kind of dovetail into the building stuff a bit. Having been please don't do that. No. Don't click on like that.
Okay. What?
What did you do? Oh, you probably tried to click on the ground. Yeah. No.
I clicked on this.
Yeah, because that goes on the ground. Yeah. This is an interesting fit. Oh, yeah, because you can't even do that right now, in fact, in Stonehearth proper. If you go and you're building a building, and you're like, oh, I want my little thing on the ground next to the building to be part of the building.
Yeah, it gets confused.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even know because there's no logic.
You have to like bring the foundation out.
Or you just add it afterwards manually, which is really unfortunate. This is a change I think we're going to have to commit to, and it's sort of been already kind of working like this right now, where rather than, it's like, anything that touches the voxels I'm currently touching becomes part of that building, and that defines the building. It's more like I've started building a thing. Everything I'm now building is part of this building, even if they're not touching anymore. And so the idea would be, we'll have to do this within sort of the rendering style of the actual building stuff, so that you can tell that these are all logically kind of the same building thing, so that you could go and you could have like the little guest house that's logically part of the manor house, and that will be the same thing.
So I actually ran into this problem when working on the big inn because there was like this piece that came off and it was like part of an awning, but it wasn't connected to any part of it. So I would save the template and it would save half the template.
Where did it go? Yeah.
And then would just be like, now I have to start from the beginning
Yeah,
again,
and-
Stonehearth.
And to say nothing about like all the ground decorations that you'd want to have.
Yeah,
and, like,
It doesn't recognize all of those things in that like little moment as part of one template.
Do you want to mount this over here? Is that what you
mean,
would like to do? Maybe not.
No, that's not what I wanted.
Okay, hold on.
And I didn't click on the thing and then on the ground. I clicked on the thing and then it freaked out on me.
Yeah, no, because it has no idea. It's like the ground is not the thing yet. It has no idea how to put it on the ground. It only knows how to put it on a structure right now. We'll get there. Circular room. Oh God. Circles in Stonehearth.
It is the forbidden shape.
Yeah. I mean, we could have additional shapes. Like right now, it'll just. I don't think we'll probably ship with it any more than just the rectangle, just because it is quite fast. Like if you wanted to do a thing, like, oh, I got my new room,
Yes.
and then
Sorry, no. Burner Supreme was saying the old workaround was to connect them and then erase the connection. Yes.
yeah, but like so now you would just be like, oh, here I'm going to add this part. I'm going to add like this
Yeah,
part.
so
I'm gonna add
you would
this part, and
manipulate
then you
the
just-
add to room in order to do that.
And it's like, okay, it works, but, circles in general are, okay. Yeah, please don't do that. Regarding, will grass ever be able to grow on dirt? I'll have to make man-made hills with grass at some point. What does grass look like? We're gonna figure it out.
My tablet.
We'll figure it out.
So the look of the look of grass is completely dependent on like the look of the world in general. Like I could see if we were to pursue like this kind of like adorable clunky voxel marzipan appeal thing, we wouldn't want like really plush, real looking leafy grass because it would just kind of argue with the style. So that's a very broad question you're asking. What does grass look like?
Surprisingly.
But the idea of the behavior of grass, I think, is especially interesting. Mally and I are just like absolutely all for a world where things live. Not like, creatures and hearthlings live, but like the world around you is dynamic. So if you cut down a tree, mushrooms might grow around the stump if you don't pull the stump up. Or if you leave like a fallen tree in the woods, something will like happen to it. It'll rot. It'll invite the growth of like other kinds of plants or things like that. Or if you've like dug out a hole in somewhere, like grass will creep into it. Or again, mushrooms will grow on the bottom. Like this idea that the world around you isn't just like a giant glorified stockpile that's just there for you to get to things and pull them up and then nothing else happens to it. This idea of a living world. Yeah. So like I think it'd be really cool if like you decide, I'm gonna like, build up this dirt area over here like next to my cottage, and then after like a year in game it's changed. Berry bushes have moved in, like you've got baby trees on it, stuff like that. I think that's a very pretty idea. I think that is a very like that feels right.
Yeah. Someone was asking, sorry. Coasters Paul, right now floors seem to be clipping through walls. And have you decided whether floors will be like...
look at that.
Yeah, so part of this was me being lazy and like wanting to avoid the whole like, I got to put this thing, cut out a section of the ground and then... I remember you mentioning that you liked some of the styles of having the door that's offset a little bit.
Sometimes I will consciously, if I'm building a raised house, I'll start with Slab Tool and build it up off the ground so I can have stairs going up to the door and stuff like that.
I would rather you not have to build slab and do it that way. Like maybe this is going to be an option. Somehow we float it through the room tool where like, oh no, this room is sunk. But see, the thing is, once you start doing that, you're like, well, if it's sunk one voxel, can I sink it 2 or 3 or 4? And like, well, now we're talking about basements. So I don't know what we're gonna do about this yet. I'm gonna keep ignoring this problem until I absolutely have to solve it. And maybe we'll just do we're just gonna sink it 1 voxel in the ground, and that's it. And then you do have to do something like with slab.
You can decide to add to it. I think it would be easier to have the option to build the base and then add on top of it instead of the weird puzzle of like, how do I sink this into the ground now? Do I have to dig? Do I have to like mine and then build my house into the hole?
Exactly. Well, and if you do that, then like, because right now the hearthlings are smart enough to be able to just do that one little layer. We create a little mining region and they dig out that little part and then they start to build everything out on top of that. If we go the full basement route, and I don't want to solve that right yet, that gets complicated where, okay, we got to build this thing out and we've got to make sure it's all connected so they have ladders and don't get stuck, and then they come out and they can tear stuff down, and then you're building stuff inside these holes, which is a little bit more complicated than when you're building just outside. Not unsolvable, but again, it's an extra sort of thing. So I feel like basements will probably that'll be like one of the next things after we finally get the new and improved system out there.
Yeah, because I think cellars would be really cool.
Yeah,
for like
absolutely.
Your lodges, your like merchant houses and things like that.
Yeah.
Shops in general where you want like a storeroom, your cook's kitchen.
Yeah.
That's that's a super cool idea.
Yeah, I think so. If nothing else, right now, making sure that houses and structures obey consistent rules, so that you could manually dick out the foundations yourself and then plop the thing down, and everything kind of builds. Okay,
you have like enough of like a consistent, established behavior to be able to like get sort of what you're expecting anyway.
Exactly, and then after that, this is actually how we're going to allow. Then you can just construct your house however you want, and then you can start to figure. You can imagine kind of plopping it down and like hinting to the UI somehow that no, this is going to go in this many units down, and I'm going to push it kind of into the mountain a little bit, and then.
I just thought about something with cellars that I've never thought to try before that would probably work. But anyway.
What? You can't say that on stream and not tell us.
Well, the thing is, I don't have all the things in the old system to actually test it out.
Okay.
Hypothetically, though, you'd dig a pit deep enough, and you'd like slab on top of the pit, leave a hole in it, use the foundation tool so that the grow walls tool would work on it, and then you would have to like decorate what's in the bottom of the hole, but you could effectively build a cellar that way.
Yeah, and that's again.
I've never done that before.
I'd rather, it's like we have this thing now. Like we can go and we can say, oh, I'm going to go, up and down, right? Like I have this thing where I can clear out.
What I just described requires a step before it, whereas maybe an ideal solution would be, hey, I want to go down, and then it like slices into the ground, and you can like build as part of the template.
Yeah.
There's going to be a cellar here. So when your hearthlings are going into like dig out everything, they keep digging.
Yeah.
And they actually do all of that stuff without you having to do the floor planning, which would probably be the most streamlined experience.
Yeah. So we'll see. There's lots of stuff that we want to go and explore in that area. Right now I miss. Good. Chris, you include the option for lower walls. Oh, you mean just like going like that?
Oh no!
Like, okay, there you
Where'd
go.
it go.
Like it's up to you now at this point. Like how, and like it's.
So how?
It's just easy. I don't know. Yeah.
So how do roofs?
Yeah. So Justin's in the meantime.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
How will roof?
Okay, so the thinking right now is, it's like right now you have, like in the current Stonehearth, you're like, you click on the thing, you're like, grow roofs, and then you just magically do the thing. And it's kind of confusing because it's the same problem where you have to know exactly how roofs kind of grow and look, and you understand the logical sort of rules. And so you have to fundamentally get all this planning right in order to actually kind of get the roof correct. And I think we're going to go into where this is what Justin's been working on. It's almost ready to merge, so hopefully soon we'll be able to start sort of playing with it for real. Where you would just say, much like a roof, much like a room rather. Oh, I'm going to drag out a roof over, from this corner over here to here, and it'll be sort of centered, or it'll be leveled like around, just on these structures.
Right.
And there'll be like sort of a drop wall that'll go and
Interesting.
And then you can drag it, and then you can deform it, and you can even add edges and stuff like that, and like kind of pull it out and be non-rectangular.
So like it would. But would you say it would like go down to meet these lower walls?
Probably not, unless
or those walls would like grow up to meet like the
these walls do not grow.
Okay.
At all. Yeah. You define the heights of the walls. So if you wanted like your roof to, well, logically, if you wanted the roof to just drop down and meet this wall, then just like drag this guy all the way up to meet it. If that's really what you want.
I was thinking about like strange, like asymmetrical sloped houses, or like if you were trying to build a structure. Let's say, hey, let's use this guy over here because this is convenient. Let's say you were trying to build a structure where this part, like you have
to click on the blue. Sorry.
Blue.
Yeah.
Yes. So you've got like this little guy over here, and you want like the roof to like kind of like go up to this point, but then like keep going down to this lower wall.
Interesting. That is so. But if you want the slope to keep going down. You could do that. You could. I think that's how that's going to work. You'll be able to because the slope, like it'll come up to like. Hold on. Do you want the peak to be here, and then no? You want the peak, like the peak is going to be over here.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure. I haven't quite figured out the rest of it in my brain.
Yeah.
This is a weird house.
Yeah. It's a programmer designed house. So that's what you get. Damn it.
How can Hearthlings starve with these new stairs?
Yeah. Maybe I'm missing something. Why don't I have the building slice tool define the 0 level? Well, okay, but what's 0, right? Like, is this 0 or is this 0? Like, the terrain can be at varying heights. So you kind of have this thing where it's like, I want to build the house, and I just want to build the damn thing. And then I want to logically figure out I think this is the way to do it, because I think anything else is too complicated. Yeah, I just want to build this house, and I want to build it potentially with the knowledge that this floor, even though I've got windows in it, pretend it isn't, is actually going to be the cellar. And then I just build this whole thing up, and then I can push it down after constructing it.
Oh, interesting.
I think, because if you don't, you run into that, where like, oh, I have to like does it only work on things at this absolute height? It's strange. Like this is the nice thing about sort of the Sims, where they'll have like you're not moving this house. You can't pick this house up and move it to some other thing where it's at a higher elevation and whatnot. You already know exactly where your lower level is going to be. Whereas if I built a house out of here, I was just designing it, and then like I wanted to put it on the mountains that are all the way over here, that are all the way up. Like I need to inform you actually what is going to be above ground and what isn't.
Interesting.
So I feel like not trying to be too clever, and instead just saying, look, you just tell us how much you want to sink this house into the ground. That's probably the right thing to do.
The whole house, just full Hobbit house.
Will we be able to make holes in the roofs for stairs? Yes. Everything. I don't even have it actually enabled on this build. But everything should be able to have like holes and things cut out in them. You should be able to put like doors and windows and whatnot in slab. You should be able to cut holes into slab, cut holes into doors and whatnot, and everything should sort of basically just work. Again, that idea of like, we're going from the straight voxels and we're making them fluid, and we're making them understand how to have like little intersections and things like that. That's already, okay, I didn't enable it, but I actually had a build where I had just like holes cut out in the side, and you could kind of move it and it would join correctly and stuff. So like, yeah, we should be able to do that. That shouldn't be a problem. Actually, stairs are going to be interesting. So in the same way that we have that masking system over here, where like, this guy wins and this guy loses, stairs will have that same kind of mask, but it'll be a mask of volume around the stairs. And I think this is how it's going to work, and I think this should be okay, where you can just place the stairs somewhere, and it'll have that mask will make sure nothing is interfering with the stairs, including the top part of it. So you can have you'll just have your floor on your second level. Just like did I remove the guy? I did remove the guy. You'll just have your second level, right over here. And by virtue of the fact that the stairs might come up to this, this floor, they'll just cut out a hole in that floor, and you'll automatically have it. You won't have to kind of, intricately go and carve it away. It'll just sort of automatically work using that masking system. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
What else?
A roof slab tool, and then add additional slope. Okay, so let's.
I mean, that's how I currently cheat it.
Yeah.
If I want a funny shaped roof, but then I worry later when there's like gameplay around like, hey, your house doesn't have a roof and your hearthlings are sad.
So the slab tool, I'm just starting to work on it now, is going to have this thing where you can say, I built this weird structure out of slab. This is a wall, and the wall's normal is pointing like that direction. Or this is a floor, or this is a roof. And so we'll have the cutaway stuff work appropriately, and it'll just like you'll be able to attach that sort of semantic qualities to the slab that you're building. I had this other idea the other day, where, and I don't know that this is how you work, but maybe this is good, maybe not. You start with all this room stuff, and you've got you flesh out very quickly kind of what I want the structure to look like, and I've got all these things together, and then you could select the room and convert it into slab. And by doing so, you retain all the semantic stuff. So you'd have slab that would be for the wall, and the normal's pointing that direction. You have slab for the floor and whatnot. But then you'd be able to start pulling out the individual voxels and adding little accoutrements and stuff like that. So you could start to kind of add details onto what was there after already having sort of fleshed out what the actual building's going to look like. It won't be a room anymore in the sense you won't be able to sort of do all the funky dragging stuff and all the little colliding stuff that we have here.
Right, so that would be like that would be a bit of a caveat.
Yeah.
But one way that I could think that would be interesting, if you pretend that all of this is like one, if this thing down here has just been converted into slab, and I wanted like this top part to be like, oh, this is gonna look log cabin just on this part.
Right.
I could change the look of that within one face of the wall by going in and editing it brick by brick, which might be kind of annoying for some people. I don't know. Again, it depends on like what your tolerance for tedium is. Or if I pulled this part forward a little bit like a hanging
and then
house.
you had to
Again, if it's slab, I have to go in and do that brick by brick. I wouldn't be able to just like grab a piece of the wall and like pull it all forward in one. That might be cool. But then how would you select it? And then, I'd add like columns underneath it to support that, so it's not just like weakly hanging over the house.
I think once we have like so roofs are coming pretty soon. Slab hopefully very soon as well. And then if we get like Stair Tool and like add the whole tool, and then we can actually start to like click, make sure things are so. Oh,
I know. Okay.
Selected. Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Oh no, wait, that's the old error. Never mind.
Okay. I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's okay.
I did do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Once we have enough tools in place, I think that's when we're going to start to go and look and see what makes sense, what sort of things work together, and like. Oh, interesting. What are you doing?
I'm fussing.
Oh, hold on. What do we have here? Okay, I'll try to rephrase. Will wall texture somehow adapt to how high? Yeah, like I literally just stumbled into that and was like, oh yeah, and you can't see. They don't. Oh, this is another important thing.
Now it floats.
So yeah, exactly. I don't know what to do here yet. I honestly like it's funny to see that the Sims like oh god, you're gonna break everything. Yeah, I don't know what to do here yet.
It's beautiful.
It's definitely a thing. I don't know about if I've used the word. alternatively
pretty.
Yeah, alternatively.
Come
pretty.
back. Undo.
Oh no, yeah, undo.
Aha.
Yeah. Yeah, thank God undo actually is consistently working out. Yeah, so like. You might think, oh, everything should just go and fall down.
Like actually pancake down. If it's like, oh, hey, I'm sitting on this, but it doesn't know that.
Well, except that, like, you can imagine really complicated large structures where you do a thing and you move some walls around and, like, you have to pull down everything and this thing's attached to that thing and that pulls this thing down and, like, how do you push it up? Like, it's really, it's a tough kind of question, and I'm kind of leaning towards like, nah, this is the XCOM solution, which is like, we won't allow you to build stuff that floats in space, and so we'll warn you and be like, oh, this is disconnected and doesn't have like, a route to the ground or whatever. But besides that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to tackle the whole, this has to fall down and then you have to somehow push it up magically. That's really, really like kind of awkward and difficult. What else is here? Can you double click a wall to select all walls? Yeah. We've been doing that a bunch. Allie, I showed you that.
Oh, yeah. We can, totally do that. Can you double-click on a wall to select all walls? So, yeah, I'm being dumb and actually, like, manually selecting everything.
Fine. As long as it still works, I'm happy about that.
I know, I'm extremely...
Coaster Paul says, nice to see undo work. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. No,
undo works. Look at it go.
Yeah, you can undo the crap out of this thing.
It goes.
Yeah, like this is actually like an undo first design where like the very fact that you can even build anything is because undo is working, because it's actually doing a redo when you make a change to the universe.
Oh, somebody did ask a question about repeating textures in the walls.
Oh yeah, and I was just in the middle of answering it. Yeah,
sorry.
So we just discovered it. That like I was just using like straight colors, like single colors, and I'm like, oh yeah, wall heights are great, this is awesome. And then I did the pattern thing and I dragged it up and I was like, oh, this is terrible.
We did think a little bit. So the question was asked by SH Kilkenny, but we did sort of think about this a little bit earlier in the year when we were doing a lot of studies about just like aesthetically anyway, the looks of like voxel by voxel patterns in the walls, whether it would be like log cabin wood or stucco or stone or things like that. We never really did get to the point where it pushed on like exploring verticals. But
Okay, I guess I personally kind of took it to apply what we were doing horizontally with what we would be doing vertically as well, which is like these sort of semi-random patterns. So you define like a gradient and like So I think
so that was my instinct on it. So I would think that like if you made, now again, there might be some problems with how this looks on a variety of structures that are different heights and widths. I could see that being a thing. But let's say you like make a thing and from top to bottom it goes through a range of values. But then you have this guy over here that goes through that same range of values from top to bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So then you would have like all of these really different types of gradients and really strange banding.
So just to make it very clear to people on the stream, so imagine this was like red at the top and black at the bottom, and so you had a smooth transition from red to black. And this is also the same shade. But
it's like a much slower gradient all the way from top to bottom. Thank you. That could be really, really, really ugly.
Especially if they're next to each other and you see that and your eyes like, these are kind of the same, but kind of not.
Your town would look kind of like weird value shifts all over the place just based on height. So that doesn't seem great. And at the same time, you can't just go, well, we'll have like we'll say like up to here expresses the full gradient, And so, like, you build up to this little guy, and you get the same amount of gradient over here because it just keeps going and it's consistent. But then it's like, well, somebody for sure is gonna want to like go ahead and build like.
Oh god! The Tower of Babel.
Yeah, it's like this is my Lavender Town.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing. Like, we can't solve everything. Like, if you want to build a huge tower, then like, okay. If you want to put the ISR on there, okay, go right ahead. But now, like, within the range that I think makes sort of sense for us aesthetically in Stonehearth, it's okay to be like,
that maximum would probably, as you're saying, be determined by like a baseline aesthetic. This is fine. But again, as soon as you start pulling on like the base of the house and things like that, suddenly that proportion of what is aesthetically pleasing changes. So it's kind of a hard thing to just say like, this is the thing. It may just have to be a thing where we do in fact drive a stake and say like, okay, up to pretty dang tall is where it's going to max out, and if you don't want to see that break, you're going to need to actually like add a floor there, which is what we do now. Because this isn't really possible in the game, you don't notice this kind of banding as much because you add a new room. Now let me do it.
Yeah.
And there's like a little floor in the middle of it, so it breaks it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is fine. You've got like this one part, and then a beat or a rest, and then it goes on again, and that's like, that is pleasing. Our eyeballs love patterns. Yeah. But when it's like this, it's really distracting, and it looks like, well, we didn't think that through.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether it's like some kind of dynamic, like amount of little cobblestone objects that continue up from top to bottom, or an actual value shift, there does need to be a better solution.
This is
than
interesting.
just, like,
the gradient could be done dependent on world height. Get a cool mesa color banding.
That could be really cool.
Certainly for like for Raya's children.
Yeah, like if we pretend that these are not houses and are mountains.
Yeah.
That way, like you see like the same kind of strata.
Yeah.
That could be really cool.
So I don't know how you get that consistent with everything else, but yeah, that actually is. That's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. So what Coaster's Paul is saying, I feel like for a lot of the patterns, you could just keep the last color for the top wall, but I've gotten used to it repeating on multi-story buildings, which again, I think that's very aesthetically pleasing. So yeah. Or maybe we can even have editable patterns.
So it is, like, I've got holes working, somewhere else, and
this one doesn't work?
No, there's no tool yet. Like, literally, they were, like, programmatically placed. You cannot do anything. Yeah, sorry.
I pushed the button, but nothing happened.
So holes are, like, I mean, you're removing these voxels from, like, the thing over there. Adding a voxel or changing a voxel's color is basically identical. So, like, adding custom painting to this is actually really straightforward. It is. I could probably knock that off in like an afternoon or something like that. So having like a base color and then allowing you to go and just adjust individual voxels to get it to look exactly the way that you wanted. Like, these are all little possibilities, and some of them are like really quite straightforward to do. So it is sort of a matter of like, what are we'll probably end up like with like a beta that has like a bunch of stuff in the pot, and then we'll kind of start to figure out
just like bang on it and see what works and what is just like catastrophic.
Yeah.
For sure.
Can you lay a single width floor all around the walls and then stack the current wall system on top? Yeah.
Can you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You could exactly. You just crush the room and then make sure that okay. Get that other one to line up, because otherwise or the other two, I should say, to line up, because otherwise they're gonna these two walls. If are you gonna make them flush?
Oh! I forgot that I did that.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like you can't. Or do I? I can't remember if I handled that or not. Yeah, you can do it like that, or you can do freestanding walls as well. All of it it's trivial to get this consistent now. So if you want, you can just you're gonna do the thing.
No, sorry, I'm playing.
Yeah, but if you want to just click on the free wall over there, you can put a free wall on top of like whatever it is you want to do. You can put them on top of like that wall over there, and like they just go anywhere. It's really not a problem.
It won't let me do that.
What do you want to do?
It will let me do that.
Oh yeah. No problem.
This is the best house I've ever made.
This is the Justin Hamilton style of. He knows why.
Yes. And now it just needs a door.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you know what? You didn't right-click out of the tool.
Oh,
look, there's a lot of manual crap going on. So
I'm sorry.
Right-click all the stuff for
it won't let me leave. Okay.
There you go. Okay, now you can do it.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, now you don't even need stairs. You can just keep climbing up the sides of the columns.
I think I made a splash screen like this once.
Yeah. What about freestanding walls outside buildings? Is there a rule that indicates it's just going to have to be manual? Like, we're going to have to, like, there'll probably be a rule in the sense if you go, like, from left to right, the normal will point in this direction. But obviously, people are going to get that wrong, like, 50% of the time. So there will have to be a thing that says, that's outside, or that's that direction. That said, I'm actually tempted to, again, ape what The Sims have done, and they basically say, look, freestanding walls, we don't even remove them when you do your cool little, like, interior view stuff. Or rather, we don't hide them depending on which side you're on. They're either always visible, or we cut away all the way to the bottom. And I have a feeling that's going to be more consistent, especially for the interior stuff, where it's like, well, the wall is valid on both directions and has decorations in both. So
sure.
how do you? So maybe that,
choose,
maybe that starts to fade out a little bit, so you can kind of see through it. And we can try a couple things, but my suspicion is that for freestanding walls, they'll just stick around or get crushed for the RPG view.
Yeah, because it's like I feel like there's like this happy place of like this perfect little cutaway isometric home that would just be so cute, but at the same time, like. Yeah.
Well, we'll get close enough, I think.
Close enough is good, but you will, like, I mean, we ran into that too when I was just, like, doing the paint-overs of our current RPG, where it's like, if you have, like, a house that has a piece that cuts inside, it doesn't delete that wall, so it's constantly going to be obstructing whatever's behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of, it's funky looking. It's not what you expected. It is pretty close, but it's not quite what you'd expect.
Okay, Megashub asks the question that that I've been dreading. Is there a minimum feature set you're driving towards in order to release a dev build? I was very good at estimating how long sort of the core rebuild took, and I was really happy about that. And I was like, I had another estimate in mind for how long the UI was going to take, and I've been really, really, really off. This has been a lot more work than I was intending.
This sounds familiar.
Yes, yeah, it's coming along well. My intention, and this is, I'm not putting a stake in the ground saying this is what we're going to do, but I really, really want to do this, is to have like a beta channel release of Stonehearth, like. Disable saving. Maybe you can load. Maybe you can't load. I don't know. But this is like okay, you want to try building out. Here's the new stuff. Play with it. Please post feedback. That kind of stuff. I want to be able to do everything we can in the current UI, which we're getting close to. Like, Justin's finishing his work on roofs. I've got the slab tool to do. After that is going to come probably stairs, which should be very, very fast. And then, like, maybe floor, maybe not, depending on how this works and how good the slab tool is for that. And then what else? And then, like, okay, obviously actually polishing some of this UI so we actually have a lot of the right things in place. I really want to be aggressive with getting something out to people to test and play with as soon as possible. At this point, I don't want to put a firm date on anything, but I will say that things are starting to snowball and get faster and kind of go well. Yeah, I really want to say something, and I really want to tell you, and I don't have a firm answer yet. But my intention and my want, and whether this exactly materializes or not, is to get something out that would be like, okay, here's the raw stuff. It's going to have some broken stuff with it, but specifically we want feedback on like interaction, how you feel using it. Are there, and especially from people who've been like kicking the tires on Stonehearth for the last couple of years, like you guys, so that you can be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, or I really want this other thing, or oh my god, I can't believe you removed that. So there will be announcements, there will be stuff. We will sing it high and loud when we get to that point. Soonish. It's getting there. It's slowly getting there.
I'm very wary of saying this is when, because every time I go, it's a piece of cake. We've got this. No. Like 6 months later, it wasn't a piece of cake.
Yeah.
That seems to be the dev story.
Yeah. Does the order in which you build a freestanding wall dictate the side of the scaffolding? Nope. Scaffolding has nothing to do with that anymore. It used to work like that. It was like, stupid. And now it's just like scaffolding tries to be smart and like, I'm going to put scaffolding over here because that's convenient and impacts the build, very slightly. Or we don't even need scaffolding on this side anymore because now we have a system that's smart enough to know that. So that's totally divorced from all the stuff, which is the way it should be. What do you guys think about spherical voxels? That's a nice question. Will there be caves? And if so, no spheres.
Well, I feel like spheres are again. This is more like a visual language question. Spheres don't necessarily fit into like the wider context of the art style. Like we're going for like something that's like very like physical with edges, something that you feel like you can like grab onto. At the moment it's strictly squares, but we're also experimenting with concepts of like, well, what if we have squares plus other like low poly simple shapes? But again, these aren't curved surfaces. this is so that they play into the rest of the world, which is strictly made out of voxels. So instead of like having this world that is completely grid-based and everything is like stacked up like a weird 3D Qbert checkerboard situation with like spheres and smooth shapes all over it, like that calls attention to the places in the world that can't do that, as if we're trying to hide it. So when we create irregular shapes, it's with the same kind of like, okay, the main shape in the world is a cube. So we want other shapes that we introduce into it to have that same kind of like bulky, strong geometry to it. And if they don't, that says something. So like you can imagine off the top of my head anyway, a way that you could dictate like what is safe and what is unsafe is like everything in what you've explored is very tactile, is very sturdy, especially where the hearthlings are concerned. It's laid up nice and neat in a grid, whereas outside in more of a fog of war, you might find things that are like flat or curved or more shape-based and less volume-based. Like then you start having you start incorporating information into those visuals instead of just like having a curvy wispy bush for the sake of having one in the game. That might be cool for some things, but you can actually leverage that to do a lot of work. All in all, like my gut instinct is that a shiny, curvy, beautiful sphere just doesn't fit. Like, my gut looks at that, I see that in the thing, and I'm just like, it just looks like it's from something else, even if it's simple.
Yeah.
So, yeah, part of it is just, like, defining what is normal and making sure that we lean into that and reinforce it instead of just, like, heaping everything in just because we can. But it's a big job.
It would be great for aliens. Like,
like I could see a weird quest where like everything's going great and a sphere descends from the sky.
And all the hearthlings go mad and like that's it. Everyone's debuffed and like.
Also, as Amiga Cook says, Tom says squares only.
That sounds fair.
That's the easy way out. But I honestly could see a world where we have squares and very simple geometry, and it would be very appealing because then you have like a lot of shapes that live in the same kind of style language, but it's a wider range of like expressions, and just like that's super handy from like a standpoint of like recognizing what you can do with things in the world, but also like culture to culture, like what shape are things in Rise Children versus shapes of things in Ascendancy. Again, you get back into this thing as like, hey, we're leveraging art to give information, to tell a story, as well as to color the world and just making the game look good. I wish I had all the pictures.
Yeah. many pictures.
Chief Justice says tears for Spheres.
I know, that's the worst thing I've ever read. Thanks, Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Really, just you made the stream. You made my day. Which is entirely your intention. So I know that you're happy and cackling right now.
Archer of DK says, haven't followed or played for a hot minute. Any updates on Geomancer or other professions other than how cool it will one day be?
Yeah, I can't say anything with the Geomancer right now.
We do still. So yes, these are things that I feel like consciously exist in the mental space of Stonehearth, and we are not. We're not going to be getting rid of those concepts, but at the moment, like along with everything else, like with the workshop updates, thinking about like how everything in the game currently has value and adds value and doesn't just add things. The same thing is for like how each of the professions like brings something to your town. That way we're not just dropping in the Geomancer, which turns out to be a glorified farmer or something like that. Like, okay, so what's missing? What does this actually bring to it? And the same like Magmasmith, how are they different from the blacksmith? What does that mean? They are not being shooed out, but it's part of a larger examination of how to like make things that are meaningful in the game instead of just like, well, we said we'd do this, so we're just gonna smack it in. Like, we ran into some trouble with this with the engineer, for instance. Like, the identity of the engineer class was really muddy. And that was one of the things that caused us to initially back away and go, okay, we actually need to examine this a bit more broadly. We can't just we can't only put things in the game because we said we would. We still kind of have to do that, but we also have an obligation to make sure that, you know, they work and they actually add something to the game. It's not just like, congrats, you have all these things. Yeah. It's like the game is richer because you have all these things.
It's easy to be like, it's easy to come up with like these really cool sounding ideas,
and
also like. No, I think the principle of the Geomancer is like a really good idea, but like you don't want like, you know, the skin, right? You don't want like, here's a Hearthling, but he's got like a red thing, and then like blocks appear around him. And like, there's your geomancer, have fun. And like, no, that's not. We don't. It has to be way, 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 way more than that.
It feels.
It has to have purpose.
Otherwise it's just like, you did it, and after you get past the fact that this thing is visually in the game and you realize it doesn't actually add anything to the game, it's really disappointing.
Can we have everything from Dwarf Fortress in this? Yep, that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. That's exactly you nailed it. That's
yep.
And like, it is funny because like Dwarf Fortress is interesting in that regard, because so much of the interest and so much of the stuff from that.
Okay. No, you go ahead. But
it's interesting just because of the sheer volume of it. I think it's kind of like this opposite design principle where like, no, we're gonna like simulate skin on dwarves and like blood and muscles and stuff, so that like when dwarves get like sick or whatever, like it is.
And then the cat runs through the sick.
Yeah. It's and it kind of works. Like, it actually does. Like, if you like that kind of game and you want that level of detail, and you can manage it.
There's a degree of intricacy with Dwarf Fortress that is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, like
wonderful.
It's incredible to look at and watch, and we can't compete on that, and we don't want to. We're going to do our own thing. That's going to we want some of that. We want some of those stories that emerge, but we don't want to have to go and construct a nervous system simulation for our Hearthlings.
Well, also it gets back to like, is this actually important to the kind of game that we're making? It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
But how does that fit? Like, is that degree of like, is that like that fine detail part of what makes the Stonehearth experience rich?
I see what you were laughing at now. Yeah. I feel like the entire Kickstarter was some kind of based on cool stuff, and now you're having to deal with it. Yep.
You're not okay. So, Coasters Paul, you are not wrong. But the thing that gives me hope is that the headspace that all of these cool things were like born in, they are all connected.
Yeah.
So the task of dealing with it isn't so much a case of like, crap, we've got to make all this work.
Yeah.
It's a case of like, these things. Finding the connections. It makes sense that these things are here. We just have to finish connecting those dots.
Yeah. It is this sort of slightly backwards way of doing game design, and so we're paying for it.
It's like throwing everything in the soup and figuring out how to make it taste good.
Yeah, and you're like, actually, there is a good soup in here. There really is, but there are some elements we have to remove, and then some other ones we want to add more of, and like, it's game development's hard.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, we do have in all of this like. Kind of dimly lit space that we're searching around for corners and walls and trying to figure out and define, and all these like things that are honestly hard to talk about on stream, for instance, because it's just like, it's so high level even for me. I'm not done exploring the space, and talking to you guys about it is complicated. It all came from like a space, so there are those connections to be had. It's just finding our way back to those. It's just been kind of a change in perspective in doing those things.
Are we going to 10 or are we going to...
to 10.
Okay.
We're going to 10.
Yeah.
You have us for 20 more minutes.
Yeah, ask your question.
Do your worst.
Oh, actually, this is a good follow-up, sort of. I'm sure you've answered that, but why is there no miner and lumberjack professions? Okay, first of all, yes, a variant. There's gonna be a fence placement tool, I swear to God, and like a general thing where you can like drag out a thing and you can like put in. It's gonna happen.
Don't worry. Every single person on the team wants.
Well, Nikki in particular, that's the thing. Like, she's not gonna sign off on the building system.
I want it,
but she's gonna be like, no,
because again, it's like I love that we have fences. I want to incorporate them in buildings, and I would love railings at some point for buildings.
Yes.
But having to like, oh God,
it's gonna be there. Don't worry. And it's not even that hard. I think is part of the thing. It's like I'm trying to attack the weird unknown stuff first and the hard stuff.
You may not start with puns for the last 20 minutes. I'm sorry to cut you off again, but someone said that. I'm gonna shut that down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No. Not with Brad on the stream as well. Oh God. But no. Back to that question though. So why are there no miner and lumberjack professions? Like lumberjack, like, okay, you're going to cut down trees, but like, we already have hearthlings that can do that. Would we want to specialize?
Do we want to like specialize somebody who only cuts down trees, who only digs out earth? Like, what? And
then what do you get? Like, what additional thing is that going to, like, what interesting choice do you have to make, and what interesting like thing do you have to go and like, I
could almost imagine a situation where like the carpenter, one of their perks is they get like, I'm a lumberjack, and it allows them to cut down trees faster or something like that.
That's an interesting one. I mean, Yeah, but like again, as a perk, as opposed to like this is a detailed profession and you need the lumberjack in order to get this kind of wood and stuff, and like.
But in the story of the world though, it's like, oh, they do this all the time. Of course they'd know how to like get to that quicker, or like the miner would of course know how. Like the mason, like a stoneworker, he knows where to dig.
Yeah, like cutting down a tree and having workers that can do that versus like the concept of a geomancer, which is like I'm now mutating the world.
Just like I've done like a dance. And there's a mountain where that used to be.
Yeah, and like though that is so distinct. Like I can't imagine a Hearthling, having that particular kind of like systems associated with it. And again, there's an interesting choice there that bringing one of these into your village, what happens to it? How do you take care of them? And how do you buff them or whatever? As opposed to like, well, it's a lumberjack, so like in addition to getting trees cut down, we cut them faster. Maybe you can create new access to new kinds of wood, but like, is that enough?
Is that even something that feeds into the economy of the world in a meaningful way? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry if I post this, but I want to know, will there be caves? And if so, there will be a cave an aspect of it. So if a Hearthling gets hit on the head with a rock, will they be knocked out and have to remember who they are? I don't think Hearthlings have quite that level of simulation detail yet.
But scrambles their traits.
Yeah. Actually, that's kind of cute. That would be kind of like a temporary debuff.
For like a day and a half,
I'm a lumberjack, damn it! Like, no, but they're really bad at it. So they get a trait, but they get terrible.
They have the axe, but they're hitting the tree with the back of the axe.
So yeah, you get like the negative. Like, you get the terrible lumberjack trait or the terrible... Yeah. But caves, though, are... that comes back to sort of the world generation stuff, but like, interiority would be awesome.
That'd be really cool. There's some questions that I have, like, from a visual standpoint of how do you, like, I'm interested in getting back to cave systems because, like, I want to be able to do this thing where you go into slice mode and slice mode, is that the right one? Slice mode. But so it would reveal everything. So what does like an underground fog of war system look like? Yeah. Is there like a thing where you like enter a room and it opens up, or you put up torches and it lights up, or there's like a mist or something underground, or you have to cultivate phosphorus mushrooms? But like this idea of like underground systems, I think is really, really interesting. Yeah. It's more of an explorational element than we currently have. Yeah, but
I think that's something that's actually missing in Stonehearth right now.
It is though, because
you drop in the world, you're like, okay, I can see everything.
I said this before, but everything you see in the world is everything you can expect of the world.
Yeah, and that's a little bit...
For a couple of weeks, a while ago, I was exploring ways of introducing, like, unknown into the world, so that what you see isn't like the only aspect of that particular place, and how we introduce variety in a way that is still consistent with what you expect about the story of the world, so that when there is something that's inconsistent, it creates something surprising instead of something that's so random it doesn't even factor in at all, and you're just like, well, it's procedurally generated, whatever, anything can happen. But it's like, you see forests, but you keep going through the fog of war and you hit meadows. And this is completely different. Similarly, you dig down and you hit an ore vein, but you also find like an open cavern that leads you to like this weird underground waterfall. Like those little moments that it colors your campaign in a way that just like the interactions of your Hearthling do some of that work. But if all you have is the interactions of your Hearthling, but there's just nothing dynamic about the world whatsoever. And this isn't even going as fine as talking about like how it changes when you leave things alone or come back to check on it later. But like just... I think the best analogy I can think of is like when we used to compare Stonehearth to this idea of like, if you could imagine like raising Kakariko Village or something like this. This would be more of a case of like, how did the Lost Woods get their reputation? Can we build an element of the world like that where you find a cave and it's just a cave, but because of like the emergent interactions of your Hearthlings or what you happen to discover there compared to what everything else has led you to expect, now you've actually discovered like a fairy cave. And that's part of the story of this particular campaign, and that's an element of discovery and just like, again, emergent storytelling that just makes the world richer for having been there. Not just a case of this cave has the blue stone in it, so now I can make blue floors. Like that's a very functional thing, but there's a higher level thing that I would hope that ideally we'd be able to introduce. So I think cave systems are a really important way of doing that, just like underground anywhere, but also like the wider concept of the biome itself needs to be able to provide this. Better fog of war in general, and just like, yes, we need consistency, but we need consistency so that we can introduce an element of the unexpected and make worlds where these stories are possible. Anyway, that was long-winded. I have strong feelings about all of these things.
Auto harvest and grow trees. Auto harvest.
So
in a range, like almost like the farmer or the trapper, you lay out a trapping zone.
So that's interesting. So your concept for a lumberjack class is somebody that basically, they're a tree farmer, an arborist, if you will.
Yeah, but see, and that's exactly it. I don't think that's enough for a single class.
No,
but actually,
it's an interesting aspect.
Yeah. You could literally just drag out a zone, say, I want to harvest, some percentage of these trees, and make sure you also plant some new ones so that we can kind of keep coming back to them and do it. That's like a subclass of the farmer almost.
Yeah, because I mean, like you can grow trees, but it's not the same of like going over to like this cleared area and like facilitating the growth of trees in that area. You have to like actually plant plop. I don't get that word today. You have to actually plant them in your garden, and then you can pick them up and move them around your town, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, fairies. Absolutely. Maybe unicorns, but you do know those things are evil, right?
Wait, what?
Probably.
What? Evil unicorns. I've heard of no such thing.
I mean,
nonsense.
I firmly believe that they look majestic and beautiful to lure you in, and then they like. then as soon as you like get into like a certain radius, they're some kind of hideous monsters all along, and you are outclassed.
Just thought about Fog of War as a system of lowering resolution. Like when you look at things far away, you can't pick the details. It just looks like a cube, but the closer you get, the more details it gets. Interesting. That's a little bit like the map idea, where you see just the abstract sort of...
Yeah. So there was a version of Fog of War that we were poking at for a while, at least in drawing space, that was like the world exists as like a flat illustrated map, and that as you reveal it, like it pop-ups and develops. But there's also aspects of it, like you haven't even explored it yet, or maybe if you don't go out there for enough time, it like kind of creeps back in and that space is changing for a little while.
Yeah.
So that could be really interesting. But just more effective ways of obscuring either what you haven't been to yet or what you've left alone for too long than what we currently have, which is just, you've revealed the map, and there's nothing else really surprising to reveal unless you've run out of resources for some reason, or you just want to keep growing your kingdom, which is also acceptable. But we can definitely do better.
Improvements to the dig tool for stairs and mountains.
It is kind of a pain.
I think that it's not quite building tool, but I think what's going to end up happening is that like we're going to do a bunch of stuff with the building tool, and then we're going to take that and then start to work some of that stuff back into like mining in general. Yeah,
exactly.
Arborists in Minecraft add-on can genetically create new trees from crossbreeding common ones. That's really cool. That's really detailed. That's really cool. Don't know if we would go quite to that extent, but that's an interesting thing. Now I want an evil unicorn. I guess. What are you doing? What are you?
Sometimes I say things.
Okay, and now everyone's running with it. This is great.
Well, but this is fun. This is the kind of mental. So, but the thing is that this is the kind of mental chewing gum in the present that in the future leads to some of the cooler types.
Yeah, like oh god, that's what we need, an evil unicorn.
You throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks, but it's also just like I don't know.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's organic, and I enjoy it.
Because there'd be more friendly creatures in the world. Yeah.
I really would like that. Honestly, again, it bothers me a lot that, like, a Hearthling community is just like, well, this is what you get. You know exactly what you've got. And everything else in the world is either to be driven away or murdered. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, many of them want to murder you or want you to make 8 doors.
For a very specific... I mean, like, look, sometimes you just need 8 doors, okay? So,
me need doors.
I think the craftable tools should be required to do specific things, like an axe to cut trees, pickaxes to mine, not the actual universal tool. I mean, those are the talisman. Like as far as farmers, you need the farming talisman in order to actually be a farmer, and so but like for stuff like cutting trees and mining, like that's the thing. Those are such low, or we conceive of them as such sort of low level, basic kind of tasks that we. Right now, the thought is, like, we want you to get into the game and start doing stuff immediately. Like, the idea that you would then have to, like, build a bunch of crap to get to the point where you could only go, and then, like, build a house after you've only gotten the anvil, and, that's a long chain just to get to sort of, like, a really fun part of the game. But, yeah, in general, like, craftable...
Anna?
Is there someone coming?
Someone is coming.
Unicorn only arrives at full moon. Yep, thanks, Brad.
Good job, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, to the comment about, I guess the like things existing in the world that you don't just have to like rush out and murder. Punkenma is saying, I was finding kind of cute when mobs set up camp next to me and just hang out. Yes, exactly. But like more meaningful.
Oh.
Who is
Anna
it?
appears. Hello.
Hi.
Come say hi.
Hi.
Here's the stream. Well, you were just on there as well in text mode, but now you're in real mode. So
Anna has materialized
from a land very far away. So
we have been talking about building and ambient encounters and
Yes.
fog of war and all kinds of fun stuff.
Varian says hello. Okay, you're gonna make it a stream of hellos. That's a huge door. Wait, what's the huge door?
What's the huge door?
Oh no, that door. Oh yeah, it's really tall. I didn't realize that at
So
first.
yeah, they are very tall.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, it's funny. I didn't even notice that when I first came out because I just assumed
They were like that before we got here,
Yeah.
so it lets me wonder like what
Who
the
was there?
previous tenants were.
we had a race of Entlings that are sort of
Right, they
Entlings,
must have
but-
been
but
Ents.
Yeah, they're just.
Oh my goodness! I mean, that would explain the heaps and heaps of leaves and sticks we found everywhere when we got
Yeah,
here.
yeah. not anymore. They're well. I mean, they're just all concrete outside now. Let's see. What friendly species of mobs could there be that Hearthlings would be able to interact with? Oh God, like what couldn't there be?
Indeed.
We could have There's like make the interaction meaningful. You know, present an interesting choice to the player so that we can do something.
Right. I mean, I think the easiest example would be either like a more benevolent goblin type encounter, for instance, because they're kind of the dopey side of the Red Kiln. Or honestly, like things like the rabbit people, where it's like, hey, you've hit that underground cavern and you've found like a little civilization in there, and now you've made contact with, and they open up like interesting like trade opportunities, or like maybe even like they'll now visit your town with certain wares or gifts, or again like, hey, I made this, I'll trade you for this, or something like that. But that's very like just riffing off the top of my head. It could even be the case of like setting up certain habitats and encouraging certain critters to like come live closer to town or stuff like that. Like that gets a bit more into like dynamic world and things like that. But just something other than, hey, this thing is near me, I can't go near it or it will start a fight. It's technically a bad thing.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll have to deal with it. But yeah, I desperately want either more ambient encounters, just things that exist in the world, you know, they don't really care that you're there, but they're there too, or things that actually like take the time to engage with you. Like if you could think of like a kind of land creature like Varanus scale, but more benign, that just like comes into your town and looks at your stuff every now and then, and like there's really nothing you can do about it.
A giant, like it's an elephantine.
Yeah, like some kind of giant fantasy Stonehearth pachyderm.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like those kind of things. It's like, where did this come from? But yeah, stuff like that.
Varian wants to know how are you enjoying the office?
Oh yeah, this is fantastic. I'm really enjoying the time here.
It's actually my first time at the office as well. The new one, I should say.
This office.
It's a pretty rad building.
Yeah.
It's really something. I can't believe how huge it is.
Yeah. And hello, greetings from Spain. Oh, that's nice.
Ooh.
Co-op, 2 towns fighting evil force unicorns.
Oh.
Well, we have a habit of hatching kind of errant lore whenever we're on stream. Things like Turnip Town or Rose Bell Tower or things like that. They tend to be born from the strangeness that happens when we're just, chatting.
Yeah. And greetings from Switzerland. Oh,
hello!
The whole world's checking in. This is great.
This is awesome.
Europe times.
Yeah.
At Brumo Supreme, there's a huge Varanus parked outside the office. Huh.
It's okay though. They're in the parking space. It's fine.
Are they double parked? How huge is the Varanus?
Yeah.
And more importantly, if they are double parked, are you going to be the one
God.
What's happening?
Oh my god, I can feel the static electricity from that. There you go.
A wild Angelo has appeared and spawned a truffle.
And I will now, let's see, am I still more or less in front? I'm in front.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're more or less in there. It works. And greetings from Austria, greetings from Norway. My goodness.
Holy cow.
Bell Tower quest line when? Someday. Never forget. Let's see. Can there also be some way to resurrect a Hearthling? Mel Lopez asks.
We have the data. Like we've got the what's it called? The gravestone, and within there's like the Hearthling name and stuff, and you could do it. I really hope that the hair guy. Well, I know what I'm calling Angela for the next day. This is great.
You've given us ammunition.
Oh God. Sweden, Norway, Ukraine, Guatemala. Holy cow. Scotland. Ooh, necromancers. Yeah, exactly. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Though necromancer always has such
a negative.
Dark negative.
Yeah,
but then again, like if we're putting a spin on unicorns,
Yeah.
maybe we can also put a spin on necromancy.
Like he's a really, really like nice guy, like hangs out, beautiful home.
Just like
whatever. Like,
this is my cottage garden. I found some dead trees in the forest, and I perked them up again. It took some doing. But yeah. So what's up? Do you need anybody raised?
I really like the sound of this now. That's a really funny twist on something that has been kind of worn into the ground. Like everyone's a necromancer; they've got the bone structure behind them, and all that stuff.
And for what it's worth, like anytime you are faced with the task of like, hey, we're going to populate a fantasy setting, you immediately think of everything that at this point is like normal fantasy, like goblins, trolls, ogres, dwarves, like things that at this point are expected. But because of that, we kind of keep warming over the same tropes over and over and over again. It's like, so what's the difference between our necromancer and like a necromancer in general? Well, actually nothing. They're just an evil guy in a cloak with some zombies. So it's like there's an opportunity here to change that up a little bit and play with it. Again, this kind of gets back into that whole like high level like lore and world exploration stuff that I'm extremely interested by. But yeah, stuff like that.
We're gonna make necromancers cute again, or approachable again, or we're gonna rebrand them. That's what this is about. Yeah.
Ooh, that's kind of So I don't know how you would do something like this, but what Unchecker Rafi just said would be like a really just cool story, a mod where I could play necromancers trying to resurrect the Phoenix Empire.
Huh.
Oh man, that gives me chills. That's cool. Wine Census says that we promised yaks.
I don't.
Did I promise yaks?
There's yak shaving sometimes, and all the programmers know what I'm talking about. But
Timur, no.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Timur just dropped a nasty pun.
Yeah, that's
necromancers are good and unicorns are evil. What a world.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we're doing here. No, this is that's a justice level of punning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony
almost.
Yaks.
Almost.
Wow.
It's true though. You do know that if you rip too many puns on the stream, Brad will appear like the fairy godmother.
Like the one that you really don't want to show up though, and then he just continues to be annoying. It's great. It's so good. Can't wait for you to be in the office, Brad. Really can't.
Come back soon, please.
Take your time.
Stop going away. Oh my goodness. All right, I think we are just about at time. It is 10 a.m., folks. So yeah, this has been super cool. I hope you guys have liked the peek into all of the work that's been going into building. I'm super excited by it. It's awesome. Like this is even different from the last time I played with all this stuff.
Okay.
Really looking forward to messing with that some more.
Yeah.
And we have a new little bit of fun side lore to pick on with unicorns and necromancers, which is again just like this is the kind of delightful mental chewing gum. You never know when this is gonna pop up later. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming to the stream today. We had a blast, and we hope you did too.
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
Right, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.